Hi everyone, welcome back to video number 2 in our 13 colonies map. We're going to continue on working from what we did yesterday. And yesterday, first video we did a lot of decoration to the map. And you can see how we've got a nice border going around the map, a nice colorful compass rose, and a colorful title. We can do a couple other things too later on. We can color in our mascot, Professor Earthworm, and maybe color the ship in a little bit over here. We've done a little bit of that too. I did a little bit on that, the water. Today we're going to look at the map key and look at the symbols in the map key. We've got about 5 symbols listed in our key, and the first one is mountains. I like to use a combination of colors for the mountains, so I might use a couple of greens and maybe a brown. So just take a second and color. Maybe I'll even add a couple of more symbols. I can make it even more colorful that way. You want to color each symbol separately. Sometimes I think the more color the better for the mountains. Alright, so that's, eventually we'll be adding mountains to the map. Okay, the next symbol really doesn't have anything to be done to it. It's just a black dot for the cities, some of the big cities. And those, you can see those appear throughout the map right now. We're going to be labeling them eventually. Okay, the next one is a river, and that's just easy to put a little blue over that. We'll be using blue for the ocean as well. Okay, and next we have 2 different kind of boundary lines. One, the darker line with a long line and a dash, is the colony boundaries. Okay, and I think it'd be good to use a red for that. So I'm just going to put a single red line over that. You don't have to make it too thick, just go right over it once. Okay, and the dotted line represents the present day state boundaries. Okay, so those sometimes differ from the colony boundaries, so I think it's nice to add those in as well. Okay, and let's go over the 13, each colony and their boundary lines. So I'm just going to need a red for that. And we'll start up in the northeast. Now it's interesting to see that what present day Maine, state of Maine, was once part of the Massachusetts colony. So you have Massachusetts here and also up here, which is present day Maine. Okay, so I wanted to point that out. It might be a little confusing when you see Massachusetts, but that was part of the Massachusetts colony. Okay, so I'm just going to trace that line between Massachusetts colony and the New Hampshire colony. Okay, and I can go over the New Hampshire colony as well. Okay, so that leads us back to this Massachusetts colony, which is the present day boundary of our state, the state of Massachusetts. So just go over that boundary line with a red. Now you can see here we have a dotted line. Now what that is, that's present day. That would be the state of Vermont right there. But Vermont wasn't around back then. It was part of the New York colony. Okay, You can even go over these with this is what would be the present day Canada boundary, U.S.-Canada boundary. I'll just go over that with a. So wherever we see a dotted line like this, that means it's a present day boundary. Okay. So we don't have to label Vermont. That was not one of the colonies. Okay, but here we have New York. Now let's continue down in the. These are the New England colonies. We're going to talk about that too as we go along. But here's the western boundary of Connecticut. And then nestled in between Massachusetts and Connecticut, we have Rhode Island. So basically, you're just taking your red pencil and tracing over that boundary line just to make it stand out a little bit better. Okay, let's finish the New York boundary. That goes from the ocean, it goes up and then heads west. Okay. You can see there's a little present day boundary. That's part of the present day Pennsylvania boundary. Okay. So here we have Pennsylvania. Let's do the New Jersey colony first. This is the boundary between Pennsylvania and New Jersey. Pretty much the same as present day. So some of these boundary lines are just exactly how they are today too. Okay, okay, let's go out from New Jersey and do the boundary between Pennsylvania and Maryland. Now you notice there's no western boundary to some of these colonies. As we head south, you'll see that there's no western edge or boundary line, and we'll talk about the reason why as we go along. But let's just do some. This one is the Delaware boundary. Pretty much the same, I think, as it is today. Okay, here we have the Maryland boundary between Maryland and Virginia. Here's Maryland, here's Virginia, here's Delaware, New Jersey. Okay, now we're getting into the Middle Atlantic. They call them the Middle Atlantic colonies. You'll be learning about those regions as you study the colonies. And I'm sure you'll also be learning about the history of each one of these colonies as you go along. If you notice along the side of our map, there's a little description of each colony. You'll probably be reading this and discussing this in class with your teacher. Okay, and probably learning a lot more about the colonies as you go along. Okay, let's do the boundary line between Virginia and North Carolina. Okay, now if you look at this large colony of Virginia, later on divided between Virginia and what's presently West Virginia. So let's sketch in the West Virginia boundary. That's the present day state of West Virginia, just for good reference. See that's where West Virginia is today. Here's the western boundary of Pennsylvania. Okay. All right, we'll also sketch in the western boundary of Virginia presently. Okay. All right, south of Virginia, we get into North Carolina. Okay, so let's put that boundary. Let's go over that line. And here's the present day western boundary of North Carolina. Okay, now we're getting into the colony of South Carolina. All right, next we have Georgia. And you can see Georgia, the colony of Georgia is was much smaller than the present day state of Georgia. You can see how here's the present day boundary of Georgia. The state of Georgia is bigger today than it was when it was a colony. Okay, and then, well, down here we have present day Florida, which was not one of the 13 colonies. Okay, so let's count the colonies real quick. Make sure we have all of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 Massachusetts, and 13 New Hampshire. All right, so there you have all of the boundary lines delineated nice and a little bit more apparent now that they're in color. All right, so I think that's going to help us as we go forward with this map, and as you study more about the colonies, you will get to really see their locations very well. Okay, good job today, and we'll see you next time.